the Mazz and Bads Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.
Folks, welcome back into the Mazz and Bads Show, hosted by myself, Charlie Baduini, and Brandon Mazz Marrazzo. And we have a very special guest in the building for today's episode. One of the OGs, one of the dogs, Anthony Cafone, ladies and gentlemen.
Charlie, thank you so much. One of the OGs. Am I one of the OGs?
If it wasn't for you, buddy, I don't know if this whole group, Mazz and Bads wouldn't be a thing. That's for sure.
That's for dang sure.
Like it started with Mazz in the midday on 90.3 WMSC radio, and then, we took it to where we could, and then we kind of split off. I miss you, buddy. I love you.
There's been a lot of stops along the way.
I'm here, though. I'm here.
No, you never know. Maybe
I get some guest spots here and there.
Yeah, we got you for sure.
And a great day to come on, Ant, because the last week or so, it's really just been a whole lot of catch-up news. You know what I mean? Football, basketball are in their lull. We're kind of in. It's the dog days of summer. You know what I mean? That this is how it always is this time of year for sports. But luckily for today, NFL training camp just opened. By the end of today, all 32 teams will have reported to their team's facilities and started practicing. Football is just around the corner. We did have some NBA headlines, a few extensions here and there, and then we also have our own fun little topic that we're going to touch on as we are in the New York metropolitan area. Top 10 New York athletes, according to SNY. We will react and adjust accordingly.
Fellas, I saw that that it's football season when you see Vita Vea shotgun a Gatorade. I thought that was pretty funny. He was one of those recovery drinks in the can.
Just
body armor.
Whole thing.
Yeah, whatever. He literally just just
that.
crush that thing. I love Vita Vea. That guy is an underrated defensive tackle.
Oh, he absolutely is.
I would honestly say probably third in the league for me. That's including Donald.
Aaron Donald's gone now, right? He retired.
Yeah, he doesn't count anymore.
But I'm saying during Aaron Donald's time, there was always Aaron Donald on top, right? And then you can battle for the second spot. I think the dude with the Chiefs, Chris Jones, was a monster. Definitely got to be up there.
He's number one. He's number one right now.
Yeah, sure. But right behind those two guys, I think it was Vita Vea.
So you want to know what's crazy about that is, Mazz, remember a few weeks ago we were talking about ESPN does a poll with executives and GMs around the league on top 10 defensive tackles?
Yep.
He was an honorable mention. He didn't even crack the top 10.
They got to stop this disrespect. Vita Vea's been here for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Sick of this.
It's a Super Bowl champion.
You got Quinn Williams.
Yeah.
And Dexter Lawrence.
Sure.
Just in New York alone.
Yeah.
Those guys are up there with Vita Vea.
Did they win rings?
Skill talent.
I didn't think so.
D tackles are. You're really going to decide which guy is a better D tackle based on the ring count?
I'm going to decide on who has the bigger impact on the field. And last time I checked, it was that defensive line for Tampa that took down Patty Mahomes.
Dexter Lawrence makes the Giants defense from a mediocre to low-end defense to a top 10 defense in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a great point. However, I'm just saying, defensive line literally changed the Super Bowl. We watched it happen. Granted, there were some injuries. Vita Vea, put some respect on the name. That's all I'm saying.
Here, I'll just run through the top 10 real quick. We won't discuss or dissect this because we got some other stuff to get to. But just for the sake of who Mazz can see is better than Vita Vea according to these executives and GMs, you got Javon Hargrave of the Niners, Kenny Clark of the Packers, DeForest Buckner of the Colts, Derek Brown of the Panthers, Christian Wilkins, former Dolphin, now Raider, Justin Madubuike from the Ravens, Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans, Dexter Lawrence of the Giants, Quentin Williams of the Jets, and Chris Jones of the Chiefs.
They only have half of that list right. You got to put Vita Vea higher. He's probably sixth on that list.
He's at
least sixth. 10. Ron Hargrave at 10 to me is crazy, too.
Over Vea? I don't want to hear that.
Oh, I'm not saying over Vea. When did I say over Vea?
No, I'm just saying. Half that list is wrong.
Ron Hargrave is a very, very good defensive tackle at 10.
He is.
Christian Wilkins over him. I'm a Ravens fan, first and foremost. I should say that beforehand. Justin Madubuike, of course, got to be in that top 5.
Yeah, he had a fantastic season last year. Definitely earned that spot, but we'll come back to football in just a little bit. There's just a few hoops headlines that we wanted to get to just to get it out of the way, and then we can dive into a bit more of the football news recently. But Nuggets have a new sixth man. Russell Westbrook is now a Denver Nugget. He's going to be taking on that Reggie Jackson role that was vacated by his departure in free agency this year. Russ is going to be trying to help the Nuggets win their second championship in 3 years. You guys like that fit, or Mazz, we'll start with you.
I don't hate it.
I
don't hate it. You know, I think, I mean, like we said, we've seen a lesser player thrive in that role. You know, I mean, granted, Russ doesn't have a jump shot whatsoever anymore. It's just Brick City, but you know, killing second units should be his bread and butter. I think it's perfectly fine. You know that he has a winning mentality, or at least a dog mentality. Jokic was really pushing for this trade to happen, so they want him there, actually. I love it, and I absolutely love that the Utah Jazz have just become like a station holder of how to get deals done for other teams. Like, yeah, sure, give us a little compensation. We'll take on stuff for you real quick. They just become the middleman of the NBA.
The only thing I will say about this trade, I agree with you, Mazz. I think Russell Westbrook going up against second teams is probably the best thing for him. I just don't know if the Nuggets necessarily are the best fit, because him and Jokic probably can't play on the floor at the same time. Jokic needs spacers. He needs guys out in the wing. He needs to be able to move around and have space to work. Russ doesn't really give you that. Really is more of a guy that takes over an offense, / kick out and drive, which is really what Jokic does. So if you're going to bring in Russell Westbrook onto this Nuggets team, I don't think him and Jokic should be on the floor at the same time.
I tend to agree with both of you guys. Make some good points, but I think the main draw there is, yeah, he's going to be leading that second team once the starters come off the floor, and I think it'll be a net positive for the Nuggets in the long run. Still don't know if they have their championship aspirations back 100% just yet. We saw last year just how tough the West is going to be going forward with all those young teams that are really starting to come into their own. But I think overall a solid move for the Nuggets, who are trying to stay under that first and second apron, trying to stay cap flexible. This move with Russ with the vet minimum is perfect for what they're looking for.
How crazy, over just watching time go by and Father Time catch up. I mean, Russ, a premier player in the league. By far, some people had him as top 5 at some point. At one point, the best point guard in the league, bar none. Yeah, literally, and then now playing on a vet minimum, ring chase, and it's kind of sad to see, man. I'm not going to lie. I wish we still had prime Russ out there, but it is what it is. At least he's finding a way to prolong the career, because we know that his style of play does not age well, but he's finding a way to stay relevant, so good for him.
Yes, it's year 17 for the guy. It's not like this is his 6th, 7th year in the league. He's been around the block since 2008. So he's had a nice long career, won an MVP, went to a couple finals. Now has a chance to get a ring here and finally fulfill that legacy that he needs to do. Plus, I think this might be, I hate to say it, this could be the last year we see Russ.
Potentially. I think there's still some time for him to be, I mean, it depends how long he wants to stay on the bench for. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like at a certain point, he's like, at this point, I'll just go home and spend time with the wife and kids. But I don't know about
moving
you.
around a lot too.
I don't know about you guys, but I would like to see Russ finish his career holding that Larry O'Brien. I think he's earned it from what he's done throughout his career and what he's had to deal with.
Sure, I just wish he was on a different team, because I'm sick of seeing Denver being on top.
Been on top one time.
I know, but I've never seen a player. Don't get me wrong, he's the best player in the NBA, but we really gotta tone it down with the Jokic rhetoric. It's all anybody wants to talk about, So it's just he gets a little bit too much flowers for me.
He's the best player in the NBA right now.
I know he is. I know, but
so he's
slow your roll.
Okay.
No, it's not that he's not the best player in the NBA. It's people are saying oh, he's better than Shaq and this that.
I don't know. What
no
saying
one
that,
says
but...
he's better than Shaq.
You were saying he's on his way.
He's on his way. He's not better than Shaq now.
He's not going to be better than Shaq. The greatest center of all time outside of Jabbar. I think Shaq's better. I said what I said.
Once he's got 4 MVPs, we'll talk about that another day. But Evan Mobley signed his rookie max extension with the Cavaliers, 5 years, $224 million. Could be $269 with incentives. Mobley, a great young defensive stalwart for the Cavaliers. He is one of only 4 current players since entering the league in 2020 or 2021 with 300 blocks and 150 steals, joining Anthony Davis, Jaren Jackson, and Rudy Gobert, 2 guys who of which have won Defensive Player of the Years, one who should have won it, Anthony Davis, and Evan Mobley's fallen right in that footstep of just being an elite defensive anchor for the Cavaliers going forward.
And he's not a waste on offense either, like Gobert can be at times. So that is a young dog on its way upcoming. and they need to do everything to protect that.
Yeah, I like Evan Mobley, and I think right now the only issue with the Cavs is having him and Jared Allen on the same team. They're both very good at what they do, but at the same time, you're giving up so much offense, Cleveland, for the sake of 2 interior defenders. If you could move, it's probably what they're doing. They're going to keep Mobley and try to move Allen here in this offseason. Try to give some help to Donovan Mitchell, because with him, a few picks, they have a lot of assets, a lot of depth on that team. They could be able to move something and try to get another score to pair with Donovan.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It's just that their games aren't not the same, but they just it kind of clogs up the paint down there, and it kind of removes a level of spacing you would have to your offense. I think you're right. I remember a few weeks ago I had floated the idea of Jared Allen, Darius Garland, some first-round picks to the Lakers for AD and LeBron, and I thought that would be quite the LeBron homecoming, bringing his boy AD with him. And I think Mazz, you were a big fan of that trade, that mock trade. Am I wrong?
Was a fan?
Yeah.
Was I?
No, I'm just kidding.
There's not a chance I was a fan of that trade. It's like, what? I was like, listen, don't get me wrong. I know I've had some hot takes there, but like, if you think I'm giving up AD for that, I'm sorry. Like, they're good players.
Yeah.
They're not good for LA. You know, I'll take one of them if I can like keep the band together. But you want to disband the band to bring in the backups? Absolutely no, thank you. I want no part of that.
Like, for LeBron and AD, you got to get a massive haul.
I need
not
like
Darius Garland and Jared Allen.
You guys heard of a king's ransom?
picks.
I need a god's ransom for that.
You might need 7 or 8 first-round picks. Give up all your first-round capital for the next decade.
Yeah, it's more of a joke, but still, it's always fun to do some mock exercises. You know what I mean? You know, like anything is possible.
I saw it last week, Charlie. You said Devontae Adams for Brandon Ayuk swap.
Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, you did.
It's never happening.
Why wouldn't it
It's
happen?
just never. Devontae Adams is 10 times more skilled than Brandon Ayuk.
All right, well,
But he's older.
So then the Niners or the Raiders can get some more compensation back in the deal if they're sending out Devontae Adams.
Giving up probably the best wide receiver in football. I would say 2, probably behind Jefferson and Devontae Adams, or a wide receiver 2 in Ayuk.
I mean, you can make the case Ayuk's a 1. I just think I think that swap makes so much sense for both teams on their current given timelines. Like the Niners are in ultimate win now mode, and Devontae would be a perfect complement to Debo and Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. I think he would be a great leading receiver to have for Brock Purdy. And then for the Raiders, who aren't ready to contend yet and are kind of on their way up, working their way to building a contending team, Ayuk's a great foundational piece to have. And they already have a connection with the head coach at Arizona State, Antonio Pierce, Brandon Ayuk. I think it just makes too much sense. But I agree with you there, where I think the Niners, if they are sending out Ayuk for Devontae, they do need to be sending out some sort of draft capital back, because it's obviously not equal.
Okay. I'm not totally convinced yet, Charlie, but you made good points.
Did I smooth it out a little bit for you, Ant? Just a little bit?
Yeah, you smoothed it out. You
right.
gave me a little bit more clarity to what you were saying before.
All right, good. I'm glad. We keep accidentally getting into football. We're just so excited about it.
Listen, training camp started.
I know. It's just around the corner. It's right there. Okay. All right. No. Two more basketball things. Okay. All right. Sam Hauser, 3-year extension with the Celtics. I don't know where the hell they keep pulling this money out from. 3 years, $45 million. The Celtics payroll is up to $225 million, highest in the NBA, over the second apron. And they're going to be the first team that we really see suffer from those salary cap restrictions. All of their first round picks get pushed to the back of the first round, no matter what. They can't trade players using picks. They can't. There's one more thing. They can't use the mid-level exception. That's what it is.
That is so weird that they can't trade players with picks. What is this new deal? What is this?
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It is hard. It just keeps on getting more funky every time I hear it. Like, what are we doing? Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. If they're over like the cap, they should absolutely be penalized in some way. But like, That's a weird way. I mean, like, wouldn't you want them to get whatever? I digress.
No, it's weird. What say you, Ant?
Isn't that the whole point of salary dumping? Like to get player off your salary books just to get picks. Yeah, you're getting rid of a huge facet of making moves in the NBA for a mid-level. That's just dumb. Like, what was the thought process that went into making that decision if you're the NBA?
I don't know. Ask C.J. McCollum and Grant Williams because they were the ones who negotiated the new CBA.
Oh, that's why.
So, if you want to point the finger at anybody, there's the guys you should point at.
Grant Williams is second in charge of the NBA union. How far they have fallen. What are we doing?
Where's Chris Paul? Wasn't he the leader forever?
He was for like a decade, but then he said enough's enough, and that was
Andre Iguodala picked up for a little bit.
Yeah, that was right before the this new CBA that was negotiated.
That union has probably the most power of any professional sports players union in the entire North American sports. Like,
not this year.
The amount of pull they get, they get a lot of pull. And that's literally the players' league now.
No, I'm just saying, like, with that, I mean, is it really the players' league after that? I mean,
yes, getting super maxes.
Sure. Okay, I'll give you that. I'm just saying, like, it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
As a Nets fan, Cameron Johnson's making $105 million.
How do you feel about that?
If you're telling me the NBA union is not working, it's absolutely working. It is. These guys should not be making this much money.
How do you feel to be paying the Nesquik Rabbit that much money?
So they're gonna suck. They're gonna suck. I don't want to talk about them. They're not. They're irrelevant. They are so irrelevant. I don't want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets.
Can I get a hello Brooklyn, please?
Hello, Brooklyn.
For anybody that doesn't know, every time that Ann had to talk about his Brooklyn Nets on our old radio show, that's how he'd open it every time. Obviously satirical for it. We don't want to be saying hello to nobody over there because they were messing everything up. However, hitting the reset button was much needed, my friend. So you have something to look forward to in about 3 to 4 years.
That was the most defeated hello Brooklyn I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, I shouldn't even. It's not even defeat. It's more like I've accepted it. Like, Charlie, you've been a Jets fan for so many years. You know what I'm going through. Like,
yeah, I lived it, man. I lived it.
You lived it. You're currently living it still.
The Nets, just like the Jets, are gonna net.
Son Reddick's holding out now.
Stop bringing it back to football.
We will get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
First, we're gonna cross the bridge from Brooklyn over into Manhattan. And Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks have finalized an extension, 3 years on top of the last year of the deal that he's currently entering. He is now tied to the Knicks to the 2028 season. Tom Thibodeau, great Knicks coach.
They keep on making great moves. I know Ant's going to push back on this, and I don't want to hear it. He's changed the culture. He absolutely has the Knicks, the entire city of New York, for the first time since, like, 2011 with the Giants, have something to legitimately look forward to when it comes to winning. All right, nobody cares about hockey. I'm sorry, I said it. They don't care about the Rangers. The Yankees have been a disappointment. Even with Aaron Judge breaking the record, they've been a disappointment, right? When it comes to the city of New York, basketball reigns supreme. The New York Knicks, I don't even want to say that they're back. They're finally here, all right? And it's all because of one man and one man only. And it starts with Tibbs. It starts with getting dogs in there like Julius Randle that are willing to sell out and take on teams by themselves, even though you have guys like RJ Barrett underperforming, even though that you have nothing else working with. Oh, you want to bring in Jalen Brunson? Yeah, sure. I'll make him my starting point guard. Absolutely no problem. Where another coach might be like, dude, you're not going to get me a bigger star. No. Not Tibbs. He says, I want people that want to be here. I don't care about star power. I care about people that want to be stars and that want to die on that court. It starts with Tibbs. I don't want to hear about injuries. It's not a coach's fault that injuries happen, all right? Even the Julius Randle one, that was a freak accident. Why are you going that hard when you were in a blowout game and you take an awkward fall? It is what it is. This entire narrative of Tibbs can't manage all the injuries. Dude, injuries have happened with what? Derrick Rose, which anybody would have had that high of a usage with the guy to begin with. When you're that young, you did not anticipate that injury to happen. And when else has it really happened? There hasn't been like this long list of career injuries with Tibbs teams. We start with Chicago. We already talked about what happened there. You go over to Minnesota. There wasn't injury problems. There was personnel problems because Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins didn't know how to win, and the management didn't want to back Jimmy Butler because they didn't think that he was the crown piece. They just thought that he was a rotational guy. By the way, guess who wanted to bring in Jimmy Butler into Minnesota? His old coach, Tom Thibodeau. And now Tibbs goes over to New York and actually has a winning squad. They pick up Brooklyn's best player and add depth. They get the Nova Knicks together. You bring in the band all the way, and it all starts with Tom Thibodeau giving them a plan of how to actually win basketball games. And then you put their crown jewel of the entire organization, Leon Rose, on top of it to make these moves happen. They're not going out and getting star players. They're going out and getting the correct personnel to fight all the way. I absolutely love it. Shout out Tom Thibodeau. He deserves it. He's changed New York basketball. He's changed the Knicks.
And just real quick before you start, because I know you're going to have a different opinion. I'm obviously more with Mazz on this one. I attribute the Knicks turnaround to 2 men. 2. Actually, I'll say 3. Tom Thibodeau, Leon Rose, and Julius Randle. Those 3 guys
Thank you.
Absolutely turned the Knicks around with their mentality, their attitude. It infected the rest of the organization, and look where it's gotten them to. Which is why I always try and shoot down as many Julius Randle trade talks as I can in recent memory, and defend Tom Thibodeau to the extent that I do. Because, sure, you want to go with the injuries and the usage rates, yada, 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 whatever. I don't, like Mazz said, I don't see a specific injury that you can attribute to Tom Thibodeau 100% alone. The Jalen Brunson hand injury was a freak collision with Tyrese Halliburton. Josh Hart was playing 48 minutes a game because he had to. It wasn't because Tibbs was like, oh, I like this guy a lot, I'm going to play him every minute of this game. The Knicks were down that bad with their depth in the playoffs. Tom Thibodeau is the right coach for this Knicks team going forward, and I cannot be happier to say that he's going to be here for, at minimum, the next 4 years.
You guys made some good points. Tom Thibodeau, I agree with you, Charlie and Mazz, so much. He changed the culture in New York. He brought in good players. He developed guys like Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, even RJ before he left. And now you're going to probably see it this year with Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart as well last year. Great developer of talent. He brings in these guys and makes them better than what they are when he leaves. But he is not a winner. You are looking for a championship. This is a guy who's not even made an Eastern Conference or Conference Finals his entire coaching career. Because you want to know why? When the wheels come towards the end of the season, his teams run out of gas consistently. Whether it be from injuries, overwork, or just finally hitting a wall against a team that just outcoaches him in the playoffs. Joe Mazzulla outcoached him. Come on. Don't even get me started. I love what Tom Thibodeau has done with these Knicks. They are going to be a great franchise for so many years. The Nova Knicks now assembled. They are going to be a team that's always going to be in contention no matter who the coach is. For right now, I don't think Tibbs is the guy that's going to get them to that championship. But all I'm going to say is this one last thing. He's got, 3 years? This window is probably 3 years. Better get it done in 3 years, because if not, it's not happening.
Yeah, definitely, because the Jalen Brunson extension, that was such a massive pay cut, it's only going to last so long. So, and you're absolutely right. This window, they have to win a championship in this next 2-3 years, or else they miss the best opportunity they've had since the 90s, 100%. But I'd also like to push back on you a little bit. Tom Thibodeau is currently 4th amongst active NBA head coaches with total career wins. So yes,
because he's been around for 20 years.
He's never made an NBA Finals, but he's got the wins to back it up because he's gotten deep into the playoffs, semifinals, conference finals, and he has the regular season wins to back it up as well.
I don't think he's ever had the roster to go all the way, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you want to talk about Joe Mazzulla. Give Tom Thibodeau that Celtics team. Look what they do. All right? Like, they win that championship probably faster than they did this time around. I'm not saying that Joe Mazzulla is horrible. I just think that Tom Thibodeau is the guy. The rosters that he's always had, the best one that I personally think he's ever had was Chicago. And we're acting as if, like, he played Derrick Rose into the ground because Derrick Rose was 34 years old and couldn't handle the load. When that knee injury happened, he was still young and hungry, bro. Like, anybody in their mother would have been playing him high minutes. When you have an athlete like that it's unnatural to be that athletic. A knee tear, sad to say, is bound to happen at that point. We talk about it with Zion Williamson all the time. Certain guys are so athletic, the human body is not meant for that. To put that on a coach, I just feel like is unfair. That's just the style of play that they have. There's a sort of risk that comes with that. And you look at Thibodeau, you give him better squads. Even Minnesota, when they had it with Jimmy, the other two guys are too young to even really make a true impact. They don't know how to play ball at the NBA level yet. If that team was together right now after Andrew Wiggins maturing and knowing a role instead of trying to be a guy that he will never live up to, Karl Anthony Towns learns how to actually absorb some contact with Jimmy. If you had Tibbs on that, yeah, they go farther than they ever would have imagined. Tibbs is a good coach, and the rhetoric that he's horrible and just runs people into the ground is just absolutely insane, or he's not built for the moment because he's been around. Like, dude, he has not been with premier teams. It's not like he had Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, and Steve Nash and didn't win anything. He's had injured Derrick Rose, Carlos Boozer, Joakim Noah, didn't win anything. Young Jimmy Butler didn't win anything with that squad. He's had inexperienced Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and Jimmy Butler, who hated management, and management hated him. All right, and now with New York, it finally seems not only do he has the right players, he has the right GM, he has the right location, he has the support that he's needed. I feel like that he's never gotten his entire career, and that's just where I'm at with it.
He's for sure gotten the support in Chicago. Like, he had a great front office, he had a great basketball team constructed, and that Derrick Rose injury should have been in the game when it happened. Yeah, maybe it would have happened eventually down the line. Who knows? But at that moment in time, that injury should not have happened in any way against an 8 seed up 15 with 1:30 left. Tibbs is a good coach. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. He develops young talent and makes them better than what they are. So in that aspect, he is one of the best of all time to do that. But when it comes to playoff games and tough games and on the wire, his team fold. Look at Philly this year. They almost blew that series in that last minute when Tyrese Maxey took over. That, like, when you're a coach and you're in that situation, you shouldn't even be going to overtime. That game should have been iced. He just kind of mismanaged the clock, allowed guys to come back in, and really gave them a chance. These guys shouldn't be, this bad in the clutch. I mean, the Knicks kind of folded when they really needed it.
Two things. Personally, I don't blame that Game 5 of the Philly series, round 1 this year. I think I put that one, I believe it was OG who had a really costly turnover. He either coughed the ball up or he missed a dunk. I could be mixing and matching games. But I don't really think that was a Tibbs thing. To your point, though, Mazz, I'll give you Chicago. He didn't really always have the support structure he needed from upper management. But when he was in Minnesota, he was president of basketball operations and also head coach at the same time. So he made his own bed with that one, I would say.
Sure. But I don't think they had the players, is what I'm saying. They had, as I said, two guys with potential through the world that were not ready to win yet. They did not have the winning. When you have Jimmy Butler sitting out of practice saying, I'm not doing, like, you should pay me. You're paying these bums. You should be paying me. Comes in with the second unit and smokes your first unit that has your 2 crown pieces on it. That team's not ready. I'm sorry. There's no way. I love Jimmy. There is no way he should be winning those practice games, even though they're just practice. I hear you, but like that.
What do you mean? Why is that so
What?
out of touch? Why is that so
What
out
do
of
you mean?
reach?
What do you?
Yeah,
I have
squad players in Miami and went to a finals.
Listen, I'm saying that when you have players that the caliber of Karl Anthony Towns, the caliber of Andrew Wiggins, 2 very high picks, right? You can just tell that they weren't ready just off of that incident happened.
So Boston wasn't ready a few years ago, and then they won. Same situation. Jimmy had a bunch of practice squad guys and beat them in the playoffs. But what's so different?
Nobody said that Boston was ready then, right? I'm saying Minnesota wasn't ready.
Everyone thought Boston was ready at that point to get over the hurdle and win a championship.
Nah, they've been a giant question mark They were even a question mark, I feel like, this year. Nobody was even like, Boston's taking it all the way. They were like, Boston's really good. They've had a really great regular season, but we kind of think that they're going to choke because that's what Boston does.
Well, we
got
also thought the West was going to probably put up more of a fight in the finals, and Dallas completely folded.
Exactly my point. Nobody even thought Dallas was going to be there. They thought that Denver was coming out, and then all of a sudden the T-Wolves, so that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody had Boston as the lock besides Boston fans. Thank you.
All right. I think that's enough hoops talk for today, fellas. Some great discussions all around. I mean,
hold on, fellas. We forgot one thing.
What?
I just saw a video. Good to see, and I hope he can play the whole season. Lonzo Ball is up and practicing.
Oh.
Getting some shoot around in. That he's looking pretty good. And I'm hoping that he comes back because that's one of my favorite players. That's just been talk about an injury plague, my friend.
Chicago's going to be a weird team this year.
Is he still on the Bulls? Are they going to like waive him or anything like that?
I have no clue what's going to happen with that. I mean, when he's on the court, he makes an impact. The problem is can't get off
the bench. Will he be off the bench this year?
I wouldn't see him.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I don't see him.
It'd be Levine and Giddey.
I don't see him starting over Kobe
you still
White,
have Kobe White
or Josh Giddey. So it's probably
Levine too.
Levine.
You might have to move Levine down to the 3.
Yeah. I see Lonzo coming off the bench, especially after not playing for 2-3 years. Like he's going to need some time to reacclimate to the NBA speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they just throw that right to the fire, they are just not doing right by him. I'm sorry.
Good for Lonzo though. Very, very happy for him. I'd love to see him back out on the court. But that's all we got for hoops. Finally, guys, some football talk. And we're going to kick things off with Ant's favorite team, the Baltimore Ravens. They needed some starting safety help after losing Geno Stone in free agency, and they got it. I believe it was yesterday the news broke, signing former Bears safety Eddie Jackson to a 1-year deal. Ant, how do you feel about that?
I love it. Great move for the Ravens because even though they have Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams in that back set for the Ravens, they want Kyle Hamilton to be utilized in different ways. They don't want him to just be that strong safety. He's great as a slot corner. He can play edge rusher almost.
He can play the box, yeah.
He can play the box. He is probably the most versatile player in the National Football League. I mean, maybe you could say if Travis Hunter comes up next year, he'll probably be in that conversation as well. But he's doing that at the NFL level, playing so many different positions, being used in so many different ways. So you needed another safety to complement Marcus Williams in that back set. Eddie Jackson's a 3-time Pro Bowler with Chicago.
Yeah,
he's a good player. He's been great. He led the league in interceptions in 2018, I believe. He's a talented guy. I think for the Ravens, trying to keep building up that defense because this is another championship window year. The defense was great last year, number 1 in takeaways, sacks, and points allowed, which was the first defense in the history of the National Football League to lead in all 3 categories. They have a chance again to run it back this year. And you don't know how many more opportunities you can say to have that with this current core.
They got to be all in for sure. When it comes to the best Swiss Army knife, if you will, I raise you Michael Parsons, but that's a conversation for another day.
Can Michael Parsons play slot corner?
Yeah.
You know what? I would think that he could play anything because he's that good. All right, he's a monster. Everything, but I think he could do it. Yeah, I think he could. He'd press a wide receiver right at the line. He'd press a wide receiver at the line. They're going nowhere. Okay, stop this. But no, seriously, the Ravens could sign, Joe Schmo off the street to play defense, and I would have confidence that he's going to do work for them. The way that they just get the most out of guys on that end of the ball, they are the best organization in football when it comes to defense, and they have been since I was a child, and they will continue to do so. Like I said, bring in a paper bag, and it's going to get you some coverage.
Look at Arthur Millette. Arthur Millette last year. Ronald Darby, 2 guys who were rotational 4th corners on a lot of teams, came in this year and we're starting and we're playing great in those man sets. Ravens find defensive backs off the street. It's so crazy how they do it.
By the way,
I'm not gonna lie though, I am mad at you. I'm very mad at you. Yes, because we got into a discussion where better defense moving forward in the NFL before the start of last season, right? I had the Cowboys, you had the Ravens. Of course, you were right on it, but I could not predict injuries happening to my best corner, so it is what it is. But then down the line, when we were debating quarterbacks, and I said, your guy has such a better defense, it's not even funny. And then you sat there and told me, the Cowboys' defense are really good. They are a top 5 defense. I said, yes, you were correct. However, The difference
I was
between
using
1
it
and
as a
5 is
counter
miles.
argument. I was using it as a counter argument because you were saying that Lamar has a really good defense.
He's got the best defense ever.
They have great defenses. They both have great defenses. Not like
there's levels to
bottom
this.
5 defense.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there is like the difference between where they are is insane. Even though they're both really good for the league, the Ravens, as you just said, top 3 categories on the defensive side, they're leading in it. It's never been done. That defense is absolutely insane. And the fact that you downplay them just to build up Lamar, I hate you.
Lamar's the MVP.
Just like how the Packers will always have a great MVP, MVP, a great quarterback, the Baltimore Ravens will always have a good defense. It's just kind of one of those laws of the National Football League. But yeah, the Ravens, I'm sure, will still, even after losing Mike McDonald to Seattle, I think their defense will still be great this year, especially with the pieces they've added.
They have Zachary Orr coming in.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking, has like Green Bay ever had like a mid quarterback?
I believe before Favre, they were in a bit of a purgatory era in between Bart Starr and Brett Favre.
I was gonna say, yeah, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love's emerging. Who else?
Didn't Ron Jaworski play there for a few years in Green Bay after Philly?
Maybe.
You got me, buddy. Hey, let us know in the comments if you know.
Sticking on defense, though, let's take a plane ride from Baltimore down to Miami. Shaq Barrett retiring from the NFL abruptly. He did sign with the Dolphins in March, and that was quite a blow to the Dolphins, who already desperately need edge and outside linebacker help. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips both still coming off major ligament injuries, ACL and Achilles respectively, and they are basically just looking for any warm bodies at that position. They brought in Emmanuel Ogbah and Yannick Ngakoue for workouts, so I'm sure one, if not both of those guys, will be in a Miami Dolphins practice jersey by tomorrow.
Let me apologize to you here first, buddy. I was giving you pushback that Miami's got a good defense, is going to be able to compete with the Jets. Yeah, now I have no confidence in it at all. I definitely was trolling you just a little bit, giving you pushback with it. Now I generally have nothing to believe in when it comes to Miami's defense on that side of the ball, even though, you know, the offense is going to be pretty good. But yeah, my apologies. You guys are reigning supreme in that division on defense.
Listen, Dolphins are still going to have Chop Robinson, who they drafted in the first round, and I think he's going to be a very good NFL pro. I think he was, the number 2 ranked edge rusher in the draft?
Yep.
He's going to be solid. I do want to say, though, prayers to Shaq Barrett. I heard about his daughter as well. That's definitely something that went into him retiring. Hopefully his family gets through that, because that's a terrible thing that happened.
Yeah, but we'll give him his flowers real quick. 2-time Super Bowl champion, a double-digit sack leader, just about every year in his prime. Shout out Shaq Barrett to a very successul career.
Absolutely. He was him and Devin White on either side in that Tampa Bay defense. That was scary.
Vita Vea coming up the middle. It was ridiculous.
You had Levante David in the middle. You had Antoine Winfield in the back safety. That defense was crazy.
It was so
we want to talk about Tom Brady having great defense. Come on.
They held him.
Nobody ever denied that he didn't have it, though. Nobody ever denied that he didn't have it, Ed. You denied.
I did not deny Lamar didn't have a great defense. Of course, the Ravens have a great defense. Never denied it. Never denied it. You put
in a league of their own.
No words in my mouth here.
Tier of their own. There's S tier, and then there was S to the moon tier, buddy. They were S to the moon.
Yeah, but again, congrats to Shaq Barrett. Dolphins, they have Jalen Ramsey. They have Jordan Brooks coming in, Chop Robinson. I think the defense is completely cooked. They have some pieces. They have veteran pieces that are going to work out. They got some young talent coming in. I think they're not going to be, of course, not going to be as good as the Jets defense. All right, they won't be as good as the Jets defense. I don't think they're going to be a bottom tier defense in the NFL this year.
They did lose Vic Fangio. I don't remember exactly who their defensive coordinator is at the moment.
Anthony Weaver. They hired from the Ravens.
That's hey, if you're going to hire from
a good hire.
If you're going to hire from any tree, especially defensively in recent memory, I think Baltimore is the tree you want to pick from. So I'd say that's a good hire. But
the Ravens got their entire coaching staff got picked apart this offseason.
Yeah, seriously. the defensive side of the ball for sure.
And do you think that this is going to be one of those like Belichick moments where when they leave, it's not going to be as good as when they were with the original organization? Or is this going to be like a D'Amico Ryans leaving San Francisco and it's going to go just as planned?
Or Robert
If not
Saleh
better.
leaving San Francisco.
That defense is still really good though. So like, so which
No,
one?
but,
Which one? Which one do you
I don't
think?
know.
That was
The
a
Ravens-
cheap shot. You did not have to do that.
It's like low key accurate, but I'll let it slide.
The defense
The
is still good,
Ravens,
though.
Ravens never really have any guys get hired from their coaching staff
Nope.
that I remember since I've been a fan. It's been 12 years. I don't remember a single coach getting hired directly from our staff. David Culley, the
I was
only
just
one.
about to say David Culley,
David
Texans.
He was our what was our wide receivers coach the year we had the 32nd ranked wideout room in the NFL, and the Texans hired him. And I was like, what? And we got a 3rd round comp pick for that. It was so funny. One of the greatest moves that the Texans ever made. It was a stopgap guy. And then they hired D'Amico the next year.
And hit the ground running. Yeah.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
No, but yeah, I don't know. I wish Mike McDonald best of luck. He was a great defensive coordinator. So
Moving onwards over to Green Bay, there's a lot of big-time negotiations going on right now. So first, who we briefly mentioned at the beginning of the show, a top 10 defensive tackle in the NFL, according to executives and GMs. Kenny Clark signed a 3-year, $64 million contract extension. He is obviously one of the best DTs in the league and was compensated as so. And Jordan Love, that negotiation is currently ongoing for a multi-year extension. He is at training camp but isn't practicing, and that is what is called a hold-in. Haason Reddick, take notes. But yeah, Packers currently trying to lock up some franchise cornerstones. Jordan Love definitely, I think, deserving of a new contract after the way he showed out last year.
I know he started the season a little rough in the beginning, but towards the back stretch, I mean,
Elite.
they were literally top 10 quarterback out there. I don't know what they're thinking. Not to get this deal done as soon as possible. Like, yes, they might say that other guys have accomplished more, but looking at the market and where it's at, are you really going to be able? You let go of Rodgers, right? You end up making that go through. You say that we're going all in on Jordan Love, and now we're hesitant, it feels like, to get the deal done. This should be the guy. We were all like, what are you doing? I mean, you should have drafted a wide receiver, but they saw the writing on the wall, I guess, and they went, we're not going anywhere. We're not confident in it. We're going to start this rebuild right now while we have literally the top guy in the building. And now it's kind of like we're being a little hesitant. Pay the man his money. He's going to be worth it. He's already gotten you places that you had no business being. I mean, you beat the Cowboys, for crying out loud. At home.
almost beat the Niners.
Almost beat the Niners. Like, this deal should have been done yesterday.
It's one season. That's the only thing I'm gonna say about this, Mazz.
Yes.
Any player can have a great one singular season and then completely fall off a cliff. We've seen it so many times in the National Football League where a guy will have a great season. Look at Mac Jones. Were the Patriots clamoring to lock up Mac Jones after his rookie season? No.
Can I raise you this, though, right? Where the Patriots, they have literally their greatest player of all time, they built up. It was a 6th-round pick. Like, they have confidence in making something out of nothing. And yes, you can make the same argument for Green Bay with the quarterback talent that they have been bringing in over the, as we said, Favre over to Rodgers, and now Love looking like it's going to be just fine. He proved he does not. This is not a Daniel Jones where there's really nothing to work with and he's not elevating nothing. There is some things to work with that could have potential, and when he came in, it definitely got elevated. I think their success is directly tied to his play style, and for them to not recognize that and get this deal done, I just, what are we smoking?
So this is definitely a different situation than what we got going on with Tua and the Dolphins, as they're currently in contract disputes as well. When it comes to a quarterback like Jordan Love, I feel like I know he's only had the one good season. That's totally accurate. But I feel like when you're watching with your eyes, you can just kind of tell and see that we're just starting to scratch the surface of this guy's potential. He's got the arm talent. He flourished in Matt LaFleur's complex quarterback system. And I just think, like you said, Mazz, get the deal done yesterday, because typically when you got a quarterback like this, that contract is only going to look better as it ages. It's like a fine wine. Quarterback contracts get better with every year because someone else is always resetting the market. Jordan Love, I think you can see,
Look at Patrick Mahomes.
has that upward trajectory of Patrick Mahomes. as opposed to a Tua who has limitations, and the Dolphins are more hesitant to give him a contract. Mac Jones, like you said, Baker Mayfield. The Browns were hesitant to give him a major contract extension after his 1 to 2 solid seasons in Cleveland. You know what I mean? I just think when you got a guy like Jordan Love who, as you said, was able to get a playoff win on the road, took the NFC champions to the end of that game. I just think you have no choice but to give him that contract.
I'm also going to say this too, Sarge, to counter
You're good.
that.
No, you're good.
He had a great end to the season. His last 9 games were spectacular. But the first 9 games, he was a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL, everyone was saying. So it's not like we're basing this off of one full season. We're basing this off of 1 half season of seeing Jordan Love play elite football. And we're already clamoring for him to get a contract extension. Give him at least halfway through this season. If he's showing you that he's still the quarterback that you've seen, then I say give him the money.
Here's where I push back on you, my friend, is the fact that it was the later half of the season. The games got harder as he showed up in the toughest of moments on the road both times in the playoffs with it, right? Playing the Cowboys, who were the best quarterback just in terms of quarterback numbers, playing against Dak Prescott, playing against a top wide receiver, playing against a really great defense, a really good defense, and then a really great defense, right, in the 49ers. He gets it done. I shouldn't say all the way because, of course, they ended up losing that 49ers game. But, like, for what they had, this is overachieving at its finest. This isn't just sneaking into the playoffs and then you beat the worst defense in Minnesota like Daniel Jones did. This is legitimate competition that he balled out against. And, yes, his first start after sitting the bench for how many years behind Rodgers, he started off streaky. Let's not act like they have the greatest of talents, even though they got better in this offseason. I think he's going to have more weapons to work with. But now, you look at it, it was at the most needed time. That's when that kid came alive. As he got more comfortable, like, there's no reason for me to believe that it's, even if he starts slow, I think he'll still bounce back because he already did it in the rookie year. And it's not like he's getting that old. He'll be 26 come November. He's still young. He healthy as far as we know, right? They got a decent line. They got some weapons to work with. I think you can legitimately say that their success can be attributed to him finally getting comfortable and figuring out a complex offense.
Yeah, of course. LaFleur's defense is probably one of the most complex in the NFL. And for Jordan Love to ball out like that in that latter half of the season was impressive. But still, it's 9 games. It's not a huge sample size. You're not getting a lot to really go off of. And I think towards that later half of the season when he started to get comfortable, you saw him sort of build the connection with those wide receivers who, frankly, they're getting maybe better. You think Bo Melton, you talk about who else is on that
Christian Watson, Jaden Reed,
Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, they're solid, but if you can get another wide receiver, you want to pay that guy as well. So at least see what he can do with the high end talent.
But I think that's the thing, though, right? He did that with guys that aren't, Christian Watson's your best guy.
A bunch of rookies.
A bunch of guys that are question marks themselves. He elevated that talent, and I'm sorry, I think you just argued against yourself in that point with it. Like, he took guys that are high potential, but still might not be. Let's not act like he's working with Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens over there. There's no Randy Moss. There's guys that are question marks themselves, and the difference is he started figuring it out. And let's not act like they were healthy the entire year either with the wide receiver position. It was you didn't know who was going to be wide receiver one due to injuries and the shuffle around, but we did know that Jordan Love towards the second half of the season was going to be consistent. People in fantasy were clamoring for him all over the place, and Green Bay fans finally had something to be proud of because they were still salty that Aaron Rodgers isn't in town.
I don't see enough.
Do you like anybody in this draft coming? Is there anybody in this draft that you're like, yes, I'm absolutely taking over Jordan Love?
Give him another half a season, and then let's decide whether he is still worth the money.
I just think, and I think that's not even the case. I think he's like by the end of this summer, he will be signed to a long-term extension. Like I don't see. I feel like there'd be more of an issue. Maybe he wouldn't have even showed up to camp. He wouldn't even be doing the hold in. He'd be holding out if it wasn't for, I think, a contract extension going to be getting done within the next few weeks. But
it's hard to play in the NFL, man. And I think I know it's a small sample size, but I think he proved with not much to work with that he can absolutely hang with the best. When you see that, you got to give it to him. This isn't Mac Jones, right? This guy was putting up numbers. This guy was putting on performances, right? This isn't a system guy. This guy helped the system's there, right? He helped elevate the system. It absolutely outperformed what it should have, and I think it's thanks to him.
And we're still talking about a guy who hung 50 on a top 5 defense in the NFL last year in the playoffs. So, I mean, to be fair, there were some pick sixes in there, but
first start ever.
I was
shout out Dak.
I was waiting for more of a response from Mazz. But
what do you want me to tell from you, bro? I got nothing to tell you.
Shout out the best quarterback in the NFL based off numbers.
It's not his fault. If he had a better system, we'd be rocking. All right. If he had anything but the coaches that I've seen, we'd be rocking. All right. If we could actually get the deal done with guys that should be paid instead of paying the wrong people, we'd be rocking. Don't act like Dak Prescott's the reason for why they're not winning, even though winning and losing always goes directly on the quarterback. Our defense played like buns in that game. All right. Dak started off rough and then still went on to throw 4 touchdowns in that game. He bounced back. Dude, I'm sorry. I don't even want to hear about it. The problem with the Cowboys is everything but 3 people. Everything but 3 people. That is Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. Everybody else, that's the problem.
Speaking of CeeDee Lamb, currently holding out of Cowboys camp, awaiting a new contract. A lot of wide receivers got paid this offseason. Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown are now the 2 highest paid receivers in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb himself eligible for an extension. His numbers were up there, if not more than Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown's numbers last year, and he wants a deal. The problem is the Cowboys, for some reason, are all in on this season. Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, both in the last years of their contracts. And it seems like the Cowboys are trying to tell CeeDee Lamb, look, we'll pay you next year, but this year, no one's getting paid. Everyone's all in on this season, and we'll talk about it next year.
How are we all in on this season when every media outlet has given us somewhere around a D+ for what they've done in the offseason? Because they haven't done diddly. All right? You're waiting for guys to come back and get a little healthy. Sure, I still have question marks about the offensive line. I have question marks all over the place. How could we be all in, but you didn't bring anything in? Right? We did nothing in the playoffs last year. We got upset by Green Bay, and Green Bay doesn't even want to pay that guy like we just talked about, which makes absolutely no sense. But coming back with it, shout out Mama Cafone, coming back with it, right? Yeah, she popped in, buddy. Coming back with it. Which one is it? Did CeeDee elevate Dak, or did Dak elevate CeeDee, or are they just the perfect pairing? For the love of God, pay the guys, because they were the only ones I felt like that did anything for this team in terms of week in and week out consistency. We don't want to pay anybody, but we don't want to bring anybody in. What are we all in on? Being mediocre? Being a first-round knockout? Being the Dallas Cowboys that I've always known them to be? Jerry, you don't have many years left on this planet, buddy. How about you actually go all in, pay the guys that deserve to get friggin' paid, and bring in some goddamn talent that's not through the goddamn draft for once, and we get a goddamn championship! I hate them. I hate them with all my heart because we're supposed to be America's team, the #1 fan base. We make more money than any team, not only in the NFL, than the entire North American continent. For crying out loud. I think the only team that legitimately makes more money than the Dallas Cowboys, I believe, is Real Madrid and Man City right now. That's how much revenue that they pull in. This is absolutely a shame right now that they do not have a better squad when they have a great quarterback, they have a great wide receiver, and those guys don't even want to play for us right now because they're being disrespected when they're the only thing that is working for this team. Who are you going to go get in the draft that's going to have a better year than what Dak just put up last year? Who's it going to be? The kid from Georgia? I don't think so. Carson Beck ain't taking you to those numbers, my friend. Who else do you have faith in right now?
Milrow.
Shut up! I don't want to hear
Sanders.
it. Yeah, not happening, buddy. Shedeur Sanders couldn't even barely beat Colorado State, for crying out loud. Could barely beat Colorado State.
His fault.
I don't want to hear it.
50 touchdowns.
I don't care. I don't care. All right, he ain't Dak. He ain't gonna be Dak. All right, the Dak rhetoric needs to stop, and it needs to start.
Sun's coming to Dallas,
dude. Listen, knock it off. Dak Prescott is a premier quarterback, needs to be paid. CeeDee Lamb, there's only 5 guys you can tell me that you would take over CeeDee Lamb that should even have a conversation with it.
Two.
Justin Jefferson, right?
Devontae
Adams. Maybe Tyreek Hill. And I'm not even taking Tyreek. I'd rather have CeeDee. Right? That's just me personally.
What about Marv?
No, I want CeeDee. Marv, I think, is going to be great, but he might not even reach what CeeDee just was. All right? I know what I have. This is the guy. He can handle the pressure. We literally got rid of Amari Cooper. How about that pressure, right? They got rid of Amari Cooper and went all in on CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee balls the hell out. And then it's like, yeah, buddy, sorry. We're just going to hold out a little bit. If he leaves us in free agency, good. All right.
He's not gonna leave because the Cowboys still have the 5th-year option for him. So
sure, but I'm saying afterwards he doesn't need to sign an extension or nothing, right?
That's fair.
He might be fed up. When I deserve to get paid, y'all didn't want to pay me. I'm gonna go somewhere that actually appreciates me. That could very well happen, right? You can have that control for that year. I'll still ball out. I'll go take my fat contract somewhere that didn't piss me off. There's absolutely a possibility of that happening.
It's not happening.
I hope it doesn't. I'm sure. I got you.
They're going to figure it out somehow.
Yeah, they're going to figure out to be exactly where they've been at, right towards the top of the regular season and right in the middle of the pack, if not lower of the pack in the playoffs.
They'll figure that out. But also
every time.
They'll figure out the CeeDee contracts.
So here's my thing, right? What do you not? So Dak, no contract extension, right? CeeDee, no contract extension. Mike McCarthy, no contract extension. Who are you attributing for the great offensive season last year? It has to be somebody. None of them's gotten paid. So who is it? If you're not sold on Mike McCarthy, that's fine. I know Bill Belichick's out there, or maybe you want to take a shot somewhere else. I'm just saying, I can understand that. But then you have to attribute it to Dak, right? Because there's literally nothing else out there at quarterback that you could possibly think about bringing in, I feel like, with the way that he balled out. Nobody's out there that's sitting there just he's definitely better than Dak Prescott that we can acquire right now, because there's only 4 or 5 guys that are better than Dak Prescott in the league, in my personal opinion. All right. So then it's got to go. And even then, let's say that you feel like you can lure somebody away, which we know you can't, then it has to be CeeDee, because Lord knows you're not getting one of those wide receivers. Who are you attributing this success to is my question. Somebody's got to get the love.
Yeah. So I the Dak and McCarthy thing, I understand, because McCarthy, he's had question marks since they hired him. Dak, as much as you and I love him, Mazz, I'm with you. I think he is also an elite quarterback. There are question marks around him with he's lost a year or two due to injury. There has been some years where his interception numbers were too high. But CeeDee's different. He is obviously already a top 5 receiver in the league, based off his numbers the last few years. Like you said, Amari Cooper, they shipped him out and bet it all on CeeDee, and it paid off. He's a guy that, regardless of how you feel about your team going forward, you want him there. So why wouldn't you single him out specifically and say to this 23, 24-year-old guy, we want you to be a Cowboy for life. You're already putting up these monster mega numbers. You're carrying on the 88 legacy that Michael Irvin and Des Bryant left behind. We're giving you the long-term contract because we want you to be here. If there is anybody on that Cowboys roster right now, in the coaching staff, front office roster, CeeDee Lamb is that player, maybe other than Micah Parsons.
Is there any objection there? I'm sorry, don't get me wrong, and I'm gonna even say too, CeeDee got elevated with the way that Dak was able to extend plays. All right, that ball got to him with Dak making magic happen. The two of them are a perfect match in heaven for me. Both of them need to get compensated. You cannot let either one of these guys get disgruntled and potentially leave down the line. That would be the biggest L that I have seen the Cowboys take ever. And that's including all the playoff berths that went absolutely nowhere. These are guys that have proven we can handle the market. We can handle the dysfunction, whether it's a coaching carousel like Dak has handled, or whether it's just dealing with the madman himself in Jerry Jones, who's a headache. All right, they have handled that pressure. not to mention having guys that were really good in front of them that they took over for and outperformed those guys for the team. In Amari Cooper, in Tony Romo, in Des Bryant. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, the Cowboys seem to have been almost in like limbo this offseason. I mean, they brought Zeke back, but other than that, what did they do? You know? But
We brought back Zeke. Why?
because
Why?
You lost your offensive line, almost all of it. So
We
Zach
didn't
Martin,
even
Zach
make
Martin, that's it?
contact. We didn't even make contact with Derrick Henry. Who wanted to be there,
and
by
he was,
the way?
he was waiting. He was waiting.
Who wanted to be there? Would have
Derrick's
chose the
raving.
Cowboys over Baltimore if they made contact. Would have happened.
But also, it's a better decision for Derrick Henry, if I'm being honest.
You know what? Sure. I'm not even mad about
Correct.
that. You're absolutely right. It's more of a running team. They have a way better front office and coaching staff going on in terms of consistency, in terms of we can actually trust in something. Yeah, I will give you that. Congratulations, buddy. You got me.
I want to say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that Kyle Shanahan offered Bill Belichick a job?
He offered
He
it. Yeah,
declined.
he offered him any position he wanted in the organization, and he said no.
I can't blame him for that.
Yeah, he wants to be head coach.
I know that there's something to say about humility, but when you have the resume of that guy, I mean, anything other than head coach, like anything below head coach, I should say, because if you want to bring him in, president of football operations, whatever, anything below head coach, I truly feel is beneath him. I know that the Patriots have fell off. I know that he was a big part of that. I know that they haven't been drafted great and what have you, but the legacy is there. There's no point of being around anything less than head coach or above.
He wasn't going to get a GM job because John Lynch is the GM of the 49ers. He's done a magnificent job over his tenure. So they're not going to fire him to bring in Belichick, who we've seen not be a great GM over the
No,
last
I'm not
couple of
saying
seasons.
that. I'm just saying there's no way he was taking any of those positions. It just wasn't happening.
But I just thought that was pretty interesting that Shanahan opened his door like that.
Why wouldn't you? I mean,
got-
like, if
he's
there's
got-
a
got a
chance,
lot of
I wish the
respect.
Cowboys could have pulled something like that. I really wish that Mike McCarthy would have been like, here, come take this defense. I'm going to take this offense. And you know what? I'm going to make you a co-head coach and we're going to get this done. But there's no way that would happen. There's no way that would
He
happen.
would not. He'd be like Buddy Ryan in that situation if he was like a co-head coach. Like he would just beef with the guy he was, under.
Although I should say it's probably good that Belichick definitely isn't there, because then the Dak contract and the CD contract definitely weren't getting done.
Yeah, that's true. But it's not. It seems like it's not getting done regardless. So we'll see how that progresses down in Arlington. Or don't they do training camp in California, Cowboys?
I got to be honest with you. I have absolutely no clue.
Okay. Regardless, there is another notable holdout other than CeeDee Lamb, and that is the Jets' new pass rusher, Haason Reddick. He did not show up to OTAs, minicamp, and of course now actual training camp. So, can I just break this whole timeline down for you guys? Because I did a very long deep dive yesterday. I aggregated just about every report I could read from the Jets beat, national media, and here's the timeline as I understand it. So, last April, the Jets traded a 2026 conditional third-round pick for Haason Reddick that could be a second if he reaches certain sack stats, certain numbers. And he is currently entering the last year of his $14.5 million deal, which is why he requested a trade to begin with, because he wanted an extension. The Jets were under the impression that during trade negotiations, when they were talking to Reddick, they said, listen, we would like to give you an extension. We just want to see how you perform in our system first. If you want, we'll take this last year of your contract and we'll put some more guaranteed money on there, take away some of the incentives. Apparently, Reddick verbally agreed to this. He verbally agreed, okay, sounds good. I will see you guys at training camp. Fast forward to June to minicamp, and he's not here. And he didn't show up to just about anything the Jets have done this season, including training camp that just opened yesterday. He is now subject to $50,000 fines every day he misses, and the Jets refuse to negotiate with a guy who is not at the facility. So Haason Reddick, what the hell, bro? Why are you going to turn around on us like that? What happened? What changed from when you were traded to the Jets to now? Because for some reason, he just went back on his word. And I know this is all coming from the Jets side of things. I'm sure the Jets have been leaking this stuff as Ant holds up his Jets towel. I'm sure the Jets have been putting this information out to reporters to try and control the narrative and say, hey, look, it's not us, it's him. But you can't help but walk away from this and be like, Haason Reddick, what the hell? Because there are better ways to go about this. He could have pulled the Jordan Love. He could have, hey guys, I'm gonna come into training camp. I'm gonna sit in meetings. I'm gonna, listen to the coaches speak. But I'm not gonna do anything physically until I'm financially taken care of. But no, he is not physically at camp. He's being fined $50,000 every day he's not there. And if anything, he's just hurting himself going forward. Holding out of camp like this is not going to get you the money that you want. It's just not. It's not going to help you.
And not only that, it's not like he's getting paid peanuts this year. I saw it was like 14 and change.
Correct.
That he's being paid. Like, it's not like, oh, you guys have me on like this really, really cheap deal. Like, it's pretty good for 1 year. That's a lot of money for what he's accomplished, I feel like, right? Now, yes, he might want the extension, but you already came here knowing that this is a feeling out process. We have faith in you, but we want to see, like, we know what we have on defense. We want to know if you can help take it to the next level. Because if it's not you, we could definitely find somebody else. We've built this from the ground up. It's actually the only thing that we've been really good at the last couple of years. No disrespect, Charlie.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Just getting that in. Like, we know as an organization, the only thing that we do 100% right is the defensive side of things. So we're absolutely going to be a little cautious here because there's no reason to throw money when we have other needs that we're trying to figure out if they're going to be met with our quarterback, with the wide receivers that we brought in, with this offensive system that we got, right? So I don't understand why you're holding out, why you're willing to take a $50,000 fine every day. I was not aware of that information. That just made me sick to my stomach that you'd even be willing. Every time a guy sits out for a season trying to get more money, and then they come back the next year and be like, oh, I'm trying to prove that I still have it. It never works out.
Never.
Every time guys have fallen off. The only guy that I can remember putting up better numbers from when they sat out, and it wasn't even their choice to sit out, they were in prison, was Michael Vick. His passing numbers went up, but he was not the same level of star that he was. So I will still debate that it never works out. A year off of football really does its damage and toll because everybody's getting better that year and you're either staying at the same level, the best case scenario, or you're falling because there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to recreate the conditions of the NFL and to boost your game up. So if anything, it is a worse decision. You're already getting paid a decent amount of money this year. I'm not saying shut up and play. I'm saying think about your future with it. The best thing that you can do is at very least be in the building and at least consuming the schemes and the knowledge of what they have. This is a whole new system, my friend. What are we doing?
The only thing I can really think of what happened as to why he's now doing this, someone must have said something in the Jets camp that really peed him off. And I can't really cipher. We probably will never know who it was that said something to him. I mean, I know for me, it probably was Saleh because that guy just does not know how to keep his mouth shut or does not know how to read a room ever. If you ever just watch his press conferences, it says the worst possible things that you can say in a press conference every single time. So I don't know. This is a strange situation, and I agree with you, Mazz. I think for a guy like Haason Reddick, who's only getting older, what is he now, like 33, 34?
I don't know if he's that old, but he's definitely around 30.
For edge rushers, the drop off is quick. Like once you start losing that first step, that explosive first step, your sacks decrease by a whole 5 or 6. So you don't have too many years of really good production left. This is a team that's going to try to win an AFC championship this year, potentially a Super Bowl. Head on and hold on tight.
Yeah, and the thing that confuses me the most, or I shouldn't say confuses me, the thing that makes sense to me the most about the Jets not being so willing and so fast to get this guy a multi-year extension is because the Jets are going to have a lot of mouths to feed over the next few years. They can't be investing, and like you said, $25 to $28 million a year into a guy who's around 30. They drafted Jermaine Johnson 2 years ago. Will McDonald the year after that. Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson are extension eligible after this season coming up. They're gonna.
So is Brees.
So is Brees. When they traded Reddick, it was a piece that said, "Hey, we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. This is just another weapon on defense for us to use to try and achieve that goal." I don't think he's in their long-term plans, which is why they're not giving him the extension. I think eventually what comes of this is they eventually do give him just some sort of raise on this one-year deal. And I think that would probably be enough to mend the fences and get everything back to kumbaya.
For the record, he'll be 30 in September.
So he's 29. I still wouldn't give him any more than a 2-year deal, to be honest with you, especially with just currently with what the Jets have right now.
He's been one of the more consistent pass rushers over the last 5 to 6 years. And you talk about his time with Philly, with Carolina. Was he with Arizona for a little bit too?
That's where he was drafted, I think, right?
Yeah, he was with Arizona for a little bit. He's been a great edge rusher. And I'm not knocking this guy because he's put up some pretty good numbers. Won a Super Bowl with Philly. I think it was Philly he won a Super Bowl with.
He was on that team, but they lost to the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, he was on the second team that lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's just not making the right decision right now because if he wants to go out and try to win that first Lombardi in his career, he's got to just suck it up for this year and play.
Yeah, and it would only help him to go out there and ball out this year on this one-year deal because then he hits the open market, unrestricted free agency, which is the dream for almost any player coming off a career year. So go out there into the Jets defense, ball out in the position they have carved out for you, go get double-digit sacks, hit the open market, and get your big contract next year. But you're in the last year of your deal. Just come and play, man. Just come and play.
Just honor the contract.
Please.
Honor the contract. I don't understand why we don't honor contracts anymore when you sign them.
I think it's a sense of entitlement, low key. I mean, it's not even just athletes. It's just like the new generation. Like, if you sign, I've always been under. Dude, I work for a company, right? Where it's like I could be, and I appreciate everything that they've done for me, right? But I could be putting in applications to a major network. Not saying that they're necessarily going to take me, but like I've had not even a contract, a verbal agreement that I will at least do dates until then, knowing that there is a possibility that I could be getting more money with more security from a bigger network. Not saying that that's a definite, but like there's that possibility. But I'm here honoring my verbal commitment to somebody that has not is it in legal writing, but just because I'm a man of my word, right? So if there was even a contract there, I'd be even more inclined to do it, right? I don't know. That's just me, personally.
So that's that on the Haason Reddick situation. We'll see how that gets resolved in the future. But that's all we got for football at the moment. As
you guys missed the biggest news story of all time in terms of one of the best wide receivers not living up to potential due to injury. Michael Gallup has retired from the NFL with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Sorry, what was that? You sounded like Trump introducing that. One of the best wide receivers ever.
that's my go-to whenever I'm just want to hit you with a little shenanigans of this is not being serious. I just like, one of the best. But, Michael Gallup.
Sorry.
Michael Gallup is retired from the NFL, man, due to injuries, and his heart's just not in it, apparently. That's a guy I felt like for the Cowboys, when he did play and they got the ball to him, made something like some of the craziest catches I've ever seen for 15 yards, 17 yards, 12 yards in that range, right? But just never lived up to it. And it's sad to say that some of these guys where you just wonder what could have happened had the injuries not been the plague.
Yeah, only 28 years old, so he still had a lot left in the tank. But obviously, he felt it was time, and it's his choice, it's his decision, And the Raiders are going to be down another receiver. I actually totally forgot he was even a Raider until he retired. They said Raiders receiver. I was like, oh, right, he's not a Cowboy anymore. But
I was kind of like, oh wait, I forgot that he even left. Like, yeah. I was just so used to him, being the third wide receiver that couldn't.
He had 1,000-yard season, right?
I think one.
It was 2018, something like that.
Dude, like I said, he wasn't a bum. He was just injured.
Yeah, he had talent. He had potential. Just couldn't really get to that ceiling that we thought he could get to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he was going to be top 10 wide receiver. I'm just saying I think he really could have been a solid option for a team. Make some big plays when he could.
A T. Higgins.
You think that high?
Yeah, I think he could have been like a T. Higgins.
Wow, I think you put a lot more faith in him than I would have.
A good wide receiver too.
I'd like to see him at 3 from what I've known. You know what? Yeah, at his height, had he stayed healthy, I'll give you that. Dude, yeah. I'm telling you, he made some real great plays. People are going to think we're crazy for saying that, but, like, if you did not watch and you just have the opinion, like, whatever, you can have that, be wrong, whatever. We saw it. The guy had magic at times.
Before the severe knee injury, he was that upward trajectory. He was looking like a T. Higgins and Mike Williams, a guy who can high point a ball with the best of them, for sure. All right, fellas, that's all we got on the football front. But, I want to say about 50% of the reason we brought you on is to give us your baseball talk. Because me and Mazz, we're big football guys, big basketball guys, but you are the baseball guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just
talk
look
about what you got going on in baseball.
Yeah, look at those hats behind you, man. You are the baseball guy.
Oh yeah, back here I got Dodgers. My team's the Yankees. So that's why I'm wearing. I got Dodgers back here. What else? We got the Mets, Padres. We got a bunch of we got Expos hats back here too. So I mean, yeah, I do brag on my baseball knowledge.
Ed, before we get into your baseball knowledge,
who won last night?
Shut up.
That's won last night.
Congrats. You know what? I'm gonna do the douchiest thing ever. You know what I'm gonna say.
What are you gonna say?
How many World Series, bro?
How many pre-integration, bro?
I think they had a bunch post-integration Yankees. I think over half of the World Series.
I was gonna say I think it's at least 15.
Yeah, I mean you still got like 13 so on me. So I mean
yeah. So listen,
what it is.
As I was saying, Ed, real quick before we get into like what you got going on in baseball, what you've been up to personally, talk about that room, man. I know that there's been it's a great sports fan room, but I know that there was a bit of a ceremony that came with it.
Oh, we should have done that in the football conversation.
I know, but I was just thinking of it now. But so what happened with this room?
Oh, in this room is where I was indoctrinated into being a Baltimore Ravens fan. Back in the day, I used to be a Minnesota Vikings fan with my dad, and wasn't the best existence. You know, as many Vikings fans will tell you from experience, it's just not fun. You don't win. You get soul-crushing losses every year. So I told my dad I don't want to be a Viking fan anymore. I want to be a Raven fan. And he, respected the decision, but at the same time got upset because it was the other purple team in the NFL. But he said to me, if you were going to be a Ravens fan, you have to be fully indoctrinated instead of being a Ravens fan. We have to baptize you. So he got water from the sink and made it seem like it was like actually a baptism, and like put it on my head and told me I was a Ravens fan. So and that day forward, I never.
Did he make like a B or an R on your forehead when he did it?
It was like 12 years ago. I don't remember.
Now after he's watched, season after season go down the drain for his purple people eaters and so on, did the Ravens not win the Super Bowl that first year that he baptized you?
First season I started rooting for the Ravens. They won
I would have
Super Bowl.
Torn down the room if I was him.
Listen, I picked a good team. That's what can I say? I picked a great team. He picked a terrible team. End of the day, one purple team's better than the other purple team. The one down in Maryland.
See, but like at least it's like interconference, so you can still have a soft spot for the Vikings because it's not like you're playing them every year. You know what I mean? So
it's like the purple was honoring. The purple's honoring the Vikings too. It's like
where you've come from.
Yeah, where I've come from, but it's just a better team.
Obviously, as the Vikings haven't made a Super Bowl since what, 70s?
77, yeah. I think it was. Exactly. It's been a long time.
King! Oh, he wants to leave. He wants out.
You should put him up to the camera, man. Why don't you bring him up to the camera? Here he goes.
The dogs went nuts. I don't even know what just happened. My apologies, fellas.
I was gonna say you should bring him up to the camera.
No, they just booked out of the. Thank God I had the mic on mute because they literally just went bananas and went flying out the room. But
so
anyway,
you guys want me to talk baseball? What you're saying?
yeah. Talk to us about, first off, we know that's your love, your passion. You even started a baseball page that's getting some good traction. What are 20K on the on one of the video views, right?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
29,000 on the one slideshow post. Hot Take Baseball. Follow it on Instagram. Follow it on TikTok. I put out some good content on there, graphics, TikToks, whatever news you want. And announcing a new podcast as well for baseball. We're calling it Take the Turn. It'll be premiering next week.
Let's
So
go.
host on that.
So I got to get back in contact with my boy Tim. We're going to get Tim back on here, and we're going to start getting that thing going.
Let's go, man.
All right,
Shout out Tim Glasso. Talk to us about baseball, man. I know we just had the All-Star game just coming out with it. Subway Series is currently upon us, where the Mets are currently up 1-0. Talk to us about
3-0.
baseball, man. Yeah, whatever.
The Mets are up 3-0 in the season series. If you want me to talk about my New York Yankees, I could talk to you for another hour about why that team is just making me want to pull my hair out. But this has just been a really fun season of baseball. You talk about a lot of these division leads have kind of shrunk in these last couple of weeks. There was all 6 divisions, right? Only one division was within 3 games 2 months ago, and that was the AL East with the Yankees and the Orioles. Every other division was 6 games or more. Now, 4 divisions are back within 3 games. Everybody's starting to go cold at the top of their divisions. Seeing teams starting to really fun back into the race. Look at the Boston Red Sox. Now within 4 games. They were down by 11, 12 games out of first place back in May. They're 4 games back now. Pittsburgh Pirates, another team. They were in the bottom 6 record of baseball 2 months ago, and now they're back within 4 games of first place because they've gotten hot. Paul Skeens has been amazing. You talk about everybody within that lineup. They've been fantastic. Connor Joe, another guy, Brian Reynolds, Michael A. Taylor, and then on the pitching end, of course, I talked about Paul Skeens. But this team has so much depth, and they're starting to really, balloon up in the NL Central. And a team like Milwaukee and them are going to have a great pennant race moving forward. And don't forget about the St. Louis Cardinals that are also thrown in there with their veteran talent. This has been a really interesting pennant race coming up here in August. And of course, we got the trade deadline coming up in about a week, August 1st. Is the trade deadline, so a lot of popping off news stories coming here in the MLB season.
In terms of that trade deadline, what's the biggest name you think that's going to be switching locations?
Chicago White Sox are going to have a fire sale. That's what's going to happen. I mean, they're the worst team in baseball. They don't have a lot of high-end talent on that team, but they have guys that have value. You talk about Garrett Crochet, who's leading Major League Baseball in strikeouts over the first 3 months. And then you talk about other guys on that roster, Luis Robert as well, another talented outfielder who could be in Philly. They're saying Philadelphia is going to be a prime destination for him. And think about Philly. They've been the best team in baseball this whole season. Adding another dynamic outfielder who hits for pop, that's going to be something that everybody should be looking out for in Major League Baseball. Garrett Crochet, a tough lefty. He can pitch out of the bullpen, long relief, or he could start. There are definitely some teams on the radar that definitely need some starting pitching. The Astros are starting to get hot as of late, but I don't see them making a move because they have some guys on the injured list that are going to be coming back. Talk about Christian Javier. Urquidy, I think, is coming back as well. Verlander's going to come back. So they don't need to really go out and get another big pitcher. I do think they'll probably stay quiet here. Red Sox have been great at the pitching staff this year. Cutter Crawford has been phenomenal, as well as Tanner Houck. If they can add a third pitcher to that arsenal and Garrett Crochet, I could see the Red Sox being a very scary candidate coming out of the American League. So those 2 guys from Chicago are definitely a couple of guys that I could see getting moved at the trade deadline. Colorado definitely has some decisions to make as Ryan McMahon. That's going to be a pretty big third base candidate, one of the better third basemen in all of baseball. And there are a lot of teams that need third basemen, the Yankees included. So I could definitely see him getting moved as well. Toronto's been struggling. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, those guys can also be on the move as well. So it's just right now in baseball, I'll just say this about the trade deadline and how it's just a little murky. Because now with the expanded playoffs, you have 3 wildcard teams making it and 3 division winners from each league. Right now, in both leagues, I would say outside of 4 teams in baseball right now are out of the playoff picture. Other 28 are within 2 or 3 games of the last playoff spot. So it's really counterintuitive because there's not going to be a lot of teams selling just because there are so many teams that are still in the hunt. So the trade deadline is not going to be as action-packed as we've seen in past years because there are still teams that are competitive and are trying to wake their way into the playoffs. So they're not going to want to part with some of their bigger stars. So I don't think there's going to be too much traffic being moved at this trade deadline. But I could definitely see guys from Chicago and Colorado getting moved.
Going off what you were starting with earlier, Ann, is just how the season has turned around for so many teams, the Mets being one of them. I mean, 2 months ago today, if you had said to me, trade deadlines, in a few months, they're probably going to be sellers. But here they are now, like you said, in contention of a wild card spot. Do you see them making any additions? I know their bullpen has been a little bit depleted over the last few weeks. Last night, they were digging down into the depths against the Yankees to try and get any sort of,
They brought in Jake Diekman in the 9th inning.
Exactly. So do you see them making any additions to the bullpen as we approach the trade deadline? Because obviously now they are a wild card contending team.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets bullpen has been kind of a dumpster fire this year. Probably been one of their weaker links. How about Edwin Diaz having a struggling start to this season after getting paid a couple of years of suspension as well? Jorge Lopez, you all know the fiasco that happened with him throwing the glove into the stand and then getting cut. They definitely need to zero in on a reliever and try to get one over into Queens. There are a couple of targets I could definitely see potentially getting moved. Oakland's not moving Mason Miller. I know everybody's saying that Mason Miller should be getting traded because Oakland sucks. Not happening. Mason Miller's going to be in Oakland for a long time, especially or not Oakland, I should say. Las Vegas for a long time. But I gotta get used to that because it's gonna creep up on me. There are some guys that could definitely get moved at this trade deadline that they could possibly zero in on and try to make a deal for. I know down in Miami they got a couple of good closers. I think David Robertson's still down there. Maybe you could try to make a deal out and try to get him there. Kirby Yates has been having a pretty good year in Texas. Texas hasn't really been doing much. So you have some options that you could maybe try to go in and try to get some bullpen depth if you're the New York Mets. But the lineup has definitely taken a complete 180. No one could have predicted what's going on with them. They were one of the worst hitting teams in baseball the first month of the year. Pete Alonso in a contract year, which granted, still not hitting great, but I don't think the Mets are going to be probably bringing him back next year, which is sad because, he was the Mets face for the last 5-6 years. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Mets probably do in this offseason. But the way they've been hitting, Lindor's having a resurgence this year. McNeil as well had a big home run last night. And I love Alvarez too. Francisco Alvarez, the catcher.
I love him.
He's a spark plug in that lineup. And especially with catchers, it's so hard to find a good hitting one. Mets have found a good one in Francisco Alvarez. This whole team, Brandon Nimmo as well, starting to come alive these last couple of days. I can see this team definitely making some moves. I said at the beginning of the year, Mazz, you could quote me on this when we were still doing Ant Mazz. I said the Mets were going to get a wild card spot this year. Did I not?
Yes, sir.
I said the Mets were definitely going to win a wild card spot. I thought the Braves were going to win that division. Phillies definitely surprised me, but the Mets, I thought, were going to be way more competitive. And after the first month, I was like, wow, I'm definitely wrong on that prediction. But they've turned it around and really surprised me.
So talk to me, right?
Quick casual question, just from me. You can have multiple wild card teams from the same division, right? It's not limited to one. All right, cool.
It's just 3 teams from the league, so
Gotcha.
Like the National League, American League. It's like in the NFL when you're in the NFL, you have 2 wild card teams from the same division if they're good enough.
Sure.
But the AFC North last year had 3 playoff teams.
Yeah. Sorry, Mazz. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Whoever's the best is getting a shot at getting in, right? You talked about Alonso potentially leaving. There's been a lot of hate coming his way just in terms of we know he's a home run kind of guy, but the advanced and just regular analytics not supporting his play. You don't think that the Mets are going to re-up in him? Where do you see him going, and what is his market going to look like?
So Pete Alonso's a very strange type of player because he's a power hitter, home run or bust. He hits a lot of doubles as well. But this year, he's really not hitting much. He's only at 18 homers right now in the middle of July, which for him, usually he's at 27, 28 by this point because he's usually hitting 40, 50 a year. This year, he's just kind of dipping in his power numbers. He's not getting the ball up in the air like he used to. And his glove is not great. He's not a great defensive first baseman. He's very average in that regard. So I could definitely see him getting paid DH type of money to a team that just wants to use him as an everyday DH kind of guy. They could, spot fill him, starts at first base when they need him to. A team that I could probably see him going to, I could see him going to like a mid-market team like that's trying to compete right now. A team, especially if Spencer Torkelson doesn't start getting going in Detroit. Maybe Detroit makes a move and tries to get Pete Alonso over there, like they did with Javi Baez, stealing him from the Mets. I'm trying to think who else I could definitely see Pete Alonso going towards. So maybe Boston.
My question would be if he's not having a great season, you can make the case that he probably didn't deserve to be in the All-Star game. He was only there because of the home run derby. Wouldn't if his value's lower, wouldn't the Mets be interested in bringing him back on a cheaper contract, hoping he can recapture that form he's had the last few years?
That's the problem, Charlie. I don't think he will take a cheaper deal because even though his contract year wasn't great, he still has shown over his last couple of seasons that he warrants a good amount of money just based off his power numbers.
Sure.
Someone's going to pay him that money, and he's going to go.
Gotcha.
Speaking of potentially going and taking that money, Juan Soto to the Mets has been in talks since he's came to New York, right? Maybe even a little before then. What's it going to take for the Yankees to keep Juan Soto and stop him from going to take that big money bag over with the Mets? What's it going to take for the Yankees to keep him?
You want a literal answer to that?
Yes.
5 Brinks trucks. Just you need dumpster trucks full of money. You can just drive up to his house, press the button, unload it onto his front lawn. That's what you need to do.
I think he's worth it.
Juan Soto is going to command some of the most money we've ever seen, not just in baseball, maybe in sports history.
Wow.
If you talk about soccer players, Mbappe. What did Mbappe get in his last contract? Didn't he get like $800 million, something like that?
Damn near a bill.
It was ridiculous.
and ownership stake in the team. I don't think Soto's going to get the ownership stake, but I think he's going to get somewhere close to $650 million to $700 million.
Didn't have ownership stake. He just had a way bigger saying in their front office moves than before.
And I think Soto's going to have that. Soto's definitely going to have that if he gets that kind of money.
But now Mbappe's over at Real Madrid, and I don't think he's going to be having that same pull. He's just got a nice bag.
Yeah, but Soto, right, this is a guy who's 25 years old. He's barely even in his prime yet. He's played baseball for 6 years already and led the league in walks 4 times in that span. He has great plate discipline, some of the best we've ever seen since Ted Williams. All right? And you guys know who Ted Williams is, right? I don't have to explain that. Oh, yeah, we all know.
Not that much casuals. We're not that bad.
They're not that much casuals. He is one of the greatest hitters I think I've ever seen at this age and at this point in time. His command of the plate is great. He hits for contact. He hits for power. He gets on base. And even this year, his play in right field has dramatically gotten better. I've seen some great improvement from him in right field as well. So you're seeing a guy starting to really mature and get way better at all facets of the game. And at 25 years old, you're going to have him locked up for potentially another 14 years, 15 years. He's going to require $650 to $700 million.
Charlie, do you want to take a guess? He's been in the league since 2018. He's been with 3 different teams, and the Nationals, the Padres, and now the Yankees. Do you want to take a guess at his lowest batting average for like lowest season ever? What do you think the number is?
I'm going to say it's something silly like 270.
You would be close. It's 236 in that 2022 year that he got traded to the Padres, but he was only there for a little bit that season. So I wouldn't even really...
Well, read off his actual number that year, because that's just for when he was in San Diego.
Yeah. So give me 1 second. It was 246 with Washington that year, 236 with San Diego. And then the very next year, it shoots up to 275. Like, this guy's worst year is better than most guys, solid year. Like, it's middle of the pack, the worst year. And then everything else is just off the charts. I mean, I'm looking at 3 years of over, including right this second, if things stay the same, 3 seasons of over 300 hitting. And the guy is what, 26?
26. And he's not has no injury history, doesn't get hurt. He stays on the field. He plays almost 150 games every single season. He's an anomaly. You're not going to get too many Juan Sotos ever. So I think this guy's going to require so much money. And everybody was saying he was crazy for declining that. Was it $500 million that the Nationals offered him a few years ago? Everyone said it was terrible at the time.
He's going to get more.
He's going to get more. So he made the right decision. And we give so much, crap to players for betting on themselves and putting, all their chickens in one basket. But Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, two guys in the middle of this Yankee order, did that, and it's worked out so great for them.
So sticking with Juan Soto, and we're at the game the other day. They're playing Tampa, two teams that obviously don't like each other, right? And we've seen some trotting around the bases take a little extra time lately, and everybody's losing their mind about it. Is this just like old heads complaining? Is this purists just complaining? Do you like seeing this smack talk with, the actions? What's going on here with this base trot and that everybody's losing their mind about?
Listen, I'm petty, Mazz. You know me. I'm a petty guy. I just think if a guy is being ridiculous, taking long around the bases when he's down 5-1 in a game, he's trying to be all cool and play to the crowd. Next time up, you hit a home run, do whatever you want. Show that guy up. You obviously couldn't hold me into the ballpark like we didn't hold you into the ballpark. So I just get the way to celebrate and rub it in your face now. So it's all a little back and forth. No one got plunked. No one got thrown at. At the end of the day, no harm, no foul. This shouldn't even be a story. It's just something that people want to run with because it's a narrative and it's the Yankees and it's Juan Soto.
Baseball should be more fun. I think like a lot of that older generation has gotten too dug in on the old school style of play. Like you want guys to have personalities in your sport because it attracts more followers, it attracts more eyeballs, and that's something that baseball, in comparison to the NFL and the NBA, has lacked in recent years. So I say thumbs up to all that kind of stuff.
So I had this similar conversation with my dad last night. We were watching the Subway Series, Yankees-Mets, and the Mets had intentionally walked Judge in the 8th inning because they didn't want to pitch to him. And I, of course, was like, it's weak. And my dad goes, it's strategy. I go, I don't watch baseball. I watch baseball for strategy, but I would say a good 85 to 90% of people who watch baseball don't watch baseball for the strategy. They watch it to watch the best hitters in the world hit. So, yeah, that's why people watch the game. They want to watch the best players have fun and hit home runs. They don't want to watch the strategy. Me, however, I watch baseball because I freaking love it and I absorb every single moment of the game, but that's not the normal. I'm not normal. So it's like
controversial opinion here, just to ask. It's gonna sound very casual, but what happened? A guy like Judge, you don't want to pitch to him, you intentionally walk. Do you think that should be more than one base?
If you intentionally walk him?
I think if you intentionally walk and put him on second.
If you intentionally walk a guy who's like got a crazy average or like something like that.
I'm not talking about like a regular walk. Like I'm saying like intentionally walk. We're not even gonna pitch to him. We're intentionally walking him. I think that should be another base.
Because they could just pitch to him intentionally and just throw 4 pitches out of the strike zone nowhere close.
But it's taking more wear and tear on your pitcher, right?
Not if the pitcher doesn't throw at his hardest.
Yeah.
If he just throws 85 miles per hour outside.
You never know. A guy like Judge might reach out of the box and still crack one.
I guess. That's a good point. But I don't think that's what the way the MLB is going to go, because then it's going to... There's too many rules and caverns that they've come up with the last couple of years that make things just way too
Baseball doesn't even know who they are anymore. I mean, they're the ones that are out here reposting Soto and Jose Siri, taking their time around the bases. They're now posting brawls when they happen. I don't even think Major League Baseball knows who they are anymore. What is the market that they're trying to hit? I don't know.
They're playing the hits. They're playing stuff that's in the news cycle. They're trying to get more eyes on the game, which I think they need to do. In this day and age, you can't rely on old style marketing. You need to be able to put the stuff that's actually engaging, like, of course, brawls, trots, throwing at guys, home runs, bat flips. Throw it all in there because people want to see that. People want to see, the other side of the game other than just the boring 2-1 count ground outs.
I'm with you. We need the Jose series of the world. I'm with you. I need guys that are going to be talking smack and making the game fun. Even in like if it's a 9-1 blowout, something's got to be fun in it. If I hit a home run, I hit a home run. Like
Not
yes,
even just baseball. Not even just baseball. Sports in general. You need villains.
Yeah.
You need people to root against. You need people to root for. That's what makes the storylines. That's what makes people want to watch. You're not going to watch the Nationals play the freaking Diamondbacks on a Tuesday night if there's no Corbin Carroll or no CJ Abrams. You watch it for those guys.
Yeah, I feel like just for too long, baseball's just been a sport where it's, almost it's supposed to be a gentleman game. It's all a tradition where it's like, I don't know, man. There's certain I understand there's tradition, and then there's some things that just need to be updated. I think this new age of baseball, I'm here for it. I want to see teams go at it. I don't want to see anybody get injured for sure. But like if something got to a point where, hey, you threw out our best guy, yeah, we're gonna throw out your best guy the next time around. Like obviously stay away from the head, but stuff like that, I want to see. It makes the game interesting. I want storylines more in baseball and stuff like this. I think should be. I'm not saying necessarily celebrated, but shouldn't be focused on taking away from neither.
No, I completely agree with you.
And I'm so glad we could have you on for this baseball discussion because if me and Mazz tried to do that ourselves, it would not have been as in-depth or informative. So thank you for that. And it's also...
Appreciate it.
I need to know. I know it's a little early. Who's going all the way from either division right now? Which one? Either league. Which one is going all the way? If you had to put your money on it.
Philly's looking unstoppable right now. Philly's looking so good. I read a stat last night, and their pitchers pitch 7 or more innings. The Phillies are 26-0 this year. That's just based off their run support and the way they score runs for their pitchers. And they have one of the best pitching stats in baseball. Ranger Suarez, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler. They have a really tough 1-2-3 punch. Add Harper, Schwarber, potentially getting Luis Robert if they get him at this trade deadline. Phillies are going to be loaded up for a deep postseason run, and I can see them winning the National League. American League, on the other hand, that's a little tougher to predict right now just because there's so many teams that are just been up and down. The Yankees and the Orioles were the two teams that I thought were going to be, going to the World Series, one of those two. But they both kind of just fell off a cliff over the last month. And then, the Guardians who've been playing great, but they're usually choke artists in the postseason. The Astros are starting to get back to playing like the Astros again, so I can definitely see them making a surprise run again and making it to the World Series, but God, please no. If I had to pick a team from the American League as of right now, the day, July 24th, 2024, let's stick with my Yankees.
I love you, man. Hey, I'm glad that you brought up stats for pitchers right now. I have a stat for you guys. Charlie, get ready for your standing ovation because we love when guys fleece teams out of money, right? Max Scherzer right now, fellas. Right? Where is he? With the Texans still? With the Rangers, my bad. Rangers, my bad. Yeah. Texas Rangers. I'm such a casual. I'm so sorry. Fellas, apparently his 2024 contract breakdown, this man is getting 22.5 from the Rangers, 30.8 from the New York Mets, and 15 from the Nationals all this season. That is the standing ovation, baby. Fleecing everybody right now. Unbelievable. Max
How many
Scherzer.
innings has he pitched? How many innings has he pitched?
You tell me. Zero, baby.
That's
Let's
absurd.
go. That's what I'm talking about. That man is winning life right now. We applaud that here all day. That is absolutely absurd. Charlie, I cannot imagine catching that money to sit on the couch.
Just kidding. 29 in the third innings. So that's nothing. Still nothing.
So still, he's getting a generational wealth to do basically nothing this season.
Do nothing. He's doing nothing. He's not towards the top of anything right now, right? Like, he's not breaking any records, right? He's winning, bro. This is what I'm talking about. That is the American dream right there, to get paid and not do a damn thing.
He's one of the greatest dudes in baseball. If you ever hear anything about Max Scherzer, whenever he got hurt and had to do, like, rehab starts, he would buy the entire AAA, like, or whoever the minor league team he was rehabbing with. He bought them all AirPods and, like, other, like, gifts just for being there.
It's cool.
Which is so cool.
Well, when you're
Those guys
fleecing
are
teams
making-
out of money like this, you can afford to do that, my boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's just a great dude, and you know what? He deserves it. He's a multiple-time Cy Young winner. He's won a World Series. He's done it all in his career. He's a Hall of Famer. Over 3,000 strikeouts. You know what? Let him coast.
Shout out Max Scherzer,
All right,
Mad
just-
Max Scherzer, baby. We appreciate you. And I got one last question for you. I think Charlie will have one more. Give it to me, man. MVP races. Who's winning it?
Well, Judge is easy. I mean, I don't really think you need to go too in depth with the American League because Aaron Judge is having probably even better season than he had his MVP year in 2022. 35 home runs all before July 24th. He's been hitting the crap out of the ball. He gets on base like a crazy man. He walked what five times last night. That's stupid. His OPS is over 1,100. That's all I gotta say. Aaron Judge is the MVP of the American League. It's not even close. National League, however, is a much closer race, but I think Bryce Harper might be on his way to winning his third MVP because he's been probably one of the most consistent hitters across the entire National League. Marcell Ozuna's been great, so you definitely got to be a guy who's in contention. Of course, Ohtani as well. I think the race probably will come down to Ohtani and Harper. It'll be close. If I had to end it today, it'd be Harper, but I could definitely see Ohtani, if he has a really good end of July and a great August, propelling himself over Harper again.
I don't have a question. Just wanted to point out Max Scherzer's career earnings: $314.5 million over his 15-year career in the MLB.
I'd buy a yacht.
Winning.
Mama gets a house first. I got a house, 2 palaces, a yacht, personal chef. Let me get the Lambo. You know what I'm talking about, man. Home sauna, jacuzzi.
As I would hate to
Ice
see you win the
bath.
lottery because you'd blow that money so quick.
I would not. I would. Are you kidding me?
You're
Are you
blowing
kidding?
this money right now, and you're hypothetical.
I haven't even listen. I haven't even broken the past 150 mil yet. I didn't say I'm buying.
Out
You
of
know?
like $300 million, I already spent half of it on everything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think I can live off 150 mil just getting the interest off the bank
I think
after that.
anyone should be able to live off 150 million. You aren't. You're terrible with money.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying, bro. Like I'd still be podcasting, to be honest with you. I'm not even lying.
Yeah, we do it for the love of the game, man.
Yeah, no, I'm not even making a dime now doing this now.
Money
I
would
just
be
love
great
it.
though.
Hey,
Money would be great.
would be great.
Sure.
Any advertisers out there listening, sponsor us.
Listen, you already know what it is. Anybody, really. We got ad spots for you. You know what it is.
I'm glad we were just talking about Aaron Judge because we're now moving on to SNY's top 10 New York athletes right now. When I say right now, they put this list out last week. So,
Give it to me from the bottom.
yes, sir.
Can we guess a few?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go right now at the 10th spot. Give me Sauce Gardner.
On the list, please not tell.
Is it a hockey player? Is it a hockey player?
There are 2 hockey players on the list.
I'm gonna say Panarin is one of them. And Chris Kreider.
No, it's got to be Lundqvist, right?
You mean
Igor Shesterkin.
Shesterkin? Yeah. All right. So how about I just give you guys the list? Ready?
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay. Number 10, Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, New York Giants.
We're just talking about.
Number 9, Sabrina Ionescu, guard for the New York Liberty.
Okay.
Number
She had
8,
a good year.
Artemi Panarin from the New York Rangers. Number 7, Brandon Nimmo, outfielder for the Mets.
Wow, that's high for Nimmo. 7.
That's what I thought too.
Over Anesco? Get out of here. Anesco?
Number 6, Sauce Gardner, cornerback for the Jets.
Okay.
Number 5, Igor Shesterkin for the
I
Rangers.
think Igor should be higher.
He carried the
Igor should be
Rangers. He
higher.
carried the Rangers.
Carried the Rangers.
Number 4, Francisco Lindor, shortstop for the New York Mets.
Igor should be higher than him.
Number 3, Juan Soto, outfielder for the Yankees.
That's fair.
Aaron Judge, number 2, center fielder for the New York Yankees. And number 1, Mr. New York himself, Jalen Brunson, point guard, New York Knicks.
I'm a Yankees fan.
I'm sorry, that's strong.
I
That's
disagree with
just
you.
wrong.
I wholeheartedly disagree with you.
That's just wrong. Aaron Judge is the best in the sport. Jalen Brunson's not the best in the sport.
Jalen Brunson is the crown jewel in a city that cares about basketball more than anything else. The Bronx cares about baseball. New York cares about basketball. That is right for me.
And Jalen Brunson just just left $100 million on the table to help the Knicks compete to win a championship.
Guys, I'm gonna disagree with you. Whose fans are more passionate, Yankees or Knicks fans?
It's
Yankees fans. Have you ever been to the Yankee Stadium?
Sure, but here's the thing, though, right? The Yankees, their fans are coming from the Bronx, right? Connecticut and New Jersey is in there as well,
so
right?
The Knicks.
Sure, but the city of New York, what are they playing all over the place? They play basketball or baseball. I don't see baseball like you used to. You don't see baseball like you used to in New York.
All over the place.
Not like basketball, my friend. It's all concrete. There's barely anywhere to play baseball. Everybody's playing basketball. You see them
everywhere.
Bro, I've literally seen them take like crates on the side of a building just to play some basketball. Like, it is a basketball city. The Bronx is a baseball borough. The city is a basketball city.
You can't tell me Jalen Brunson's better at his sport.
I'm not saying
Aaron Judge is at his sport. That's the list.
No, that's not what it's saying. It said
the best athletes in New York.
What's the title of that list?
SNY's top 10 New York athletes right now. But so the thing is,
for me, I take that as King of New York. For me, that list should be titled King of New York.
So
I disagree with you.
I'm not saying Judge is going to win MVP, and he's going to win AL MVP. He's carrying him and Soto are at 2 and 3 for a reason, because they are single-handedly carrying the Yankees right now. But what Jalen Brunson has done for the city of New York, bringing Knicks basketball back from the brink, taking a $100 million pay cut so that the Knicks can maintain maneuverability to build a championship team, this city owes Jalen Brunson everything right now. Everything. And they're going to
I would argue...
So do the Yankees with Aaron Judge.
But I would argue right now...
Aaron Judge is not on that team right now. They are having 30 wins this year.
Correct. Hold on, sure.
Wins.
But here's the thing, though, right? The New York Yankees are going to find talent. All right? This is the greatest franchise of that sport. People...
Not to the length of Aaron Judge.
Listen, people will want... Somebody will take the money and go be in pinstripes. If it was not for Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, nobody would want to be in a Knicks jersey. Because nobody's wanted to be in a Knicks jersey since Carmelo Anthony. And Melo didn't really even want to be... He got traded. Who's to say he even wanted to be in that jersey? We're not even entirely sure, right? Without those two guys, especially the way that Brunson has taken it there, he has made the franchise relevant. The Yankees, in their worst years, are always relevant. So, if we're talking about King of New York...
That's just because they're a better run franchise than the Knicks. That's not just because they're...
If we're talking about
King of run franchise.
If we're talking about King of New York...
could be good every year if they had competent people running.
And I would argue that the Knicks are closer to winning an NBA championship than the Yankees are winning the World Series.
I think they're equally close.
I have more faith in the Knicks right now, and I'm a Yankees
fan. The Knicks and Yankees are probably both top 3 in their respective leagues.
I have more faith in the Knicks. Charlie, you put together a list.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we're never gonna 100% fully agree on this, but I did put together my own top 10 list because there were some things on here that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I kept the top 3 the same. I have Jalen Brunson, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto. But everything else has been swapped around. I took some names out, put some names in. Do you guys want me to start from the bottom or go from the top down?
Always the bottom.
Always the bottom. Okay. So Dexter Lawrence still coming in at number 10, all right? But at number 9, I had to insert Quinnen Williams because he is a better defensive tackle than Dexter Lawrence. NFL executives and GMs thought so in that poll we talked about at the beginning of the episode. So we got Dexter Lawrence and then Quinnen Williams at 9. At number 8, I have Sabrina Ionescu. And I moved her up one spot from 9 to 8 because obviously she was a big part in the Liberty's run to the finals last year. Number 7, I took out Brandon Nimmo.
Can I say one more thing on Ionescu point?
Yeah.
What about Stewart?
He should be up there.
There we go.
Okay. So I took out Brandon Nimmo and put in Francisco Lindor at number 7. And then at number 6, I have Breanna Stewart. I don't understand how she didn't make the initial list because she was WNBA MVP last year. And she's
better than Ionescu.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Ionescu isn't great. They're both obviously the co-stars of that team. But Stewart was the league MVP last year, so how could you leave her off this list? That didn't make
I thought
any
it was
sense.
Asia last year.
No, Breanna Stewart was WNBA MVP last year.
Why do I keep thinking it was Asia Wilson? She won the last 2, I thought.
Let me just fact check myself real quick, but I'm 2023 WNBA MVP Breanna Stewart, edging out Connecticut's Sun forward Alyssa Thomas and Las Vegas Aces forward Adrian Wilson. So there we go. Breanna Stewart, number 6. Then we were bumping up Sauce Gardner to number 5 because he is the best cornerback in the NFL, and he belongs to the city of New York. I moved up Igor Shesterkin to number 4 because, as we talked about on the initial list, he single-handedly almost carried the Rangers to the Stanley Cup. They lost in the conference finals, of course, but he was the biggest, if not probably the main reason they made it that far. And then, of course, as I said at the beginning, his top 3 is still the same. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge single-handedly carrying the Yankees right now, and Jalen Brunson, obviously the king of New York. What do you guys think about my list?
I don't hate it.
I see you took the 2 hockey players out, Kreider and took out Panarin.
I took out Panarin. That's more of my own ignorance because I'm not as big of a hockey guy, but I just felt that I didn't understand. That was the big one for me. And how are you going to put Ionescu up there but not Breanna Stewart? That just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
I think because they drafted her, right?
Yeah.
So like she's more of like
they didn't draft Soto.
Sure, but like Yankees fans are just clamoring for whatever. I think that's just the only reason why like she's getting more love because I like even now when you think of the Yankees, you think of Soto. When you think of the Liberty, I think Ionescu comes to your mind first, and then you're like, oh yeah, they also have Stewart, who is even better, right? Just personally, but I would make the argument that either of the D tackles shouldn't be on there, and it should be the 2 Rangers guys.
Can I counterpoint your point that you made earlier that the Knicks are more popular than the Yankees in the city of New York?
Sure. Let's hear it.
Juan Soto, who's only been in New York for half a season, is already at 3 on this list.
Yeah.
So it's like, and there's only one Nick in Jalen Brunson.
You
could definitely make a case for Dante DiVincenzo.
I really considered Josh Hart.
Player.
Really considered Josh Hart just because of his game-winning threes in the Philly series in round 1 this year. But I figured, well,
where's Mikal Bridges?
Nowhere. As he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be anywhere on this list. I'm sorry.
Charlie, you're gonna be doing this year.
I will not. Charlie might be. Absolutely. That is one of the worst 3-point celebrations I've ever seen in my life. It just looks like a demented bobblehead. Honestly, we need to stop this. Second,
$100 million man, Nick Claxton.
Second, here's my thing. Right, nobody's debating whether or not what is the bigger franchise between the New York Yankees and all the rest of the New York teams. The Yankees reign supreme. I'm with you, right? But in terms of just the city, I think they are more excited when their basketball team is good than when their baseball team is good.
Their basketball team hasn't been good in 20 years. Now they're finally good. That's why people are excited. If the Yankees were terrible for 20 years and were finally good, then you see the whole city rally around them.
I don't know, because here's the thing, right? Even with another franchise being in that city, being the Nets, it is a Knicks city all the way.
I'm not debating.
It is absolutely a Yankee city, but a good portion. Queens don't care about New York, don't care about the Yankees. Queens cares about the Knicks. Every borough, even Brooklyn, cares more about the Knicks than they do the Nets. It is split in the city between the Yankees and the Mets. Even though the Yankees reign supreme, it's more split than what the Knicks and Nets are.
That also dates back when the Dodgers and Giants were both there. There was 3 teams in New York for a long time.
Sure, and look what happened. Brooklyn, right, couldn't even keep the Dodgers, and now they're rooting for the Yankees. You want to know how we know? Because Jay-Z made a Yankees hat more famous than the Yankees did.
Well, no. Dodgers didn't leave because Brooklyn couldn't keep them. They left because they wanted to go to Los Angeles because they wanted to make a market out west because there was no other competition out there.
Sure, but it was a bigger market, right? What do you mean? No?
New York is the biggest market in the.
Not when you're splitting. I think being one, if you want to be split in thirds in the city of New York, or be
the Giants,
number one.
New York Giants were not even relevant in New York. They were like the redhead stepchild of New York back in the 40s and 50s. The Yankees and the Dodgers were the main rivalry across baseball.
Sure, let me ask you this, right? Would you rather be the Mets being the number 2 in the city of New York, which the Dodgers ultimately would have been, or would you rather be the number 1 in LA?
Mets make.
You'd rather be the number one in LA, baby. Get out of here.
Listen, hold on. The Dodgers and the Mets are probably equal in terms of value right now.
So then you're just taking my
I
point
know.
for the Knicks to a new level.
I'm not. No. I'm saying the Mets, who are the number 2 team in New York, are still making just as much money as the number 1 team in Los Angeles. So if anything, that proves my point. That New York's a way bigger market.
I definitely think the Dodgers are pulling in more money than the Mets.
It's a lot close. It's very close. I don't think it's too far off.
You know what? I'm pretty sure we can look up the value of the franchises right now. Charlie, can you pull up MLB franchises?
Already on it.
Thank you, buddy.
Look at Steve Cohen. The amount of money he put into the Mets too.
They got Magic Johnson over at the Dodgers.
Los Angeles Dodgers are the second highest valued franchise at $5.45 billion. The New York Mets are 6th at $3 billion.
There's no way. They're worth $3 billion.
According to this Forbes article I'm currently looking at, posted on March 28th, 2024.
Thank you. Keep it moving. Love you, buddy.
Keep it moving.
I thought the Mets were a lot more than $3 billion.
Nope.
Well, also they're not investing as much because right now they're in their dead period. If they actually start putting more money in, they're going to make more money.
I'm sure they'll make more money, but they're not passing the Yankees. They're not passing the Dodgers. It's never going to happen. They're not passing the Dodgers either. It's never happening. I'm sorry, Charlie. It's just not happening.
I don't care.
They're just bigger brands. So, but listen, buddy, I appreciate you. Once again, let the people know where they can find you out on Instagram, on TikTok. Shout it out,
baseball. Hot Take Baseball. Go give it a follow. Give me some likes. Give me some attention.
And I'll drop that link down in the YouTube description. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about this episode, and something if you want us to talk about something in the future, let us know. And if you're listening on Spotify, rate. And whatever else there is on there, I think it's just rating. I think you can just rate podcasts on Spotify.
I'm a big fan of Spotify, but all the platforms you can find us. You already know what it is, and thank you very much. And I know you got that podcast coming soon.
Yep. Take the turn coming up soon. Get ready, you have. But that's thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming, buddy. We'll catch you next time.
You have been listening to the Mazz and Bad Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.